Welcome to the Michael Singer Podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. The spiritual path is your life. Your whole life is a spiritual path. That's why you're here. Every moment of your life, that's what's happening. Doesn't matter if you're young, old, rich, poor, male, female, married, single. Doesn't matter. What is happening is the spiritual path. What if I don't know this is a spiritual path? It's still the spiritual path. That's all. You're going to go through what you need to go through, bump your head against the wall, and eventually you start to catch on what's going on. All right. So if the entire path and meaning of life is your spiritual growth, what does that mean? It means that you are of God. I don't use the word lightly. I don't even like using the word, because it's become so bastardized. Everybody has their beliefs. But there are those who come to know God, who come to have self-realization and realize who they are and what the relationship is with God. And everyone who ever got there said the same thing, of every tradition, of every religion, period. And you will say the same thing as you get there. So it's nice to hear from them, because they're like signposts along the way, giving you some idea of how you're doing. But your life is your path. So what does that mean? First, why do you need a path? Why are you not enlightened? You should ask that question. Why am I not enlightened? If it's true that really it's God that's inside of me, that God's self, my higher self, is of God consciousness. There's only one consciousness, and of course you're conscious. If there's only one consciousness, then you're of that consciousness. All right? Why don't I experience it? I usually spend my talks talking about that. We won't. We'll do it very quickly. You don't experience your true being because you're being distracted by your false being, by your psyche, by your ego, by your mind, by your emotions, this thing that you built around yourself, and you did build it around yourself. Your psyche is something you built. You, the self, the consciousness, dropped down and got scared, got disoriented, couldn't figure it out. And so it started building a false self. That's what the ego is, a self-concept. I do it very quickly because I do it all the time. You have experiences. Some of those experiences are pleasant. Some of them are not pleasant. That's just the nature of things. A butterfly is pleasant. A rattlesnake is not. But you can handle both. You can learn to handle both. You don't have to live your life avoiding rattlesnakes or clinging to butterflies. So basically, we haven't learned that. We don't know that. If something's not pleasant, we don't want to experience it. Something is pleasant, we want to experience it. It's very natural. So how do we not experience that which happened? Very quickly, what we do is resist it. You resist it having happened? No, it already happened. Otherwise, you wouldn't know that you didn't like it. It already got in there. You experienced it. So what do I do when it comes in there? I don't let it come all the way in. I practice resistance. I practice pushing it away. I'm in here. I have hands in here. I have will. And I don't like that experience. So it doesn't matter that it already happened. I don't have to experience it fully. And so I push it away. And when you push it away, everyone you pushed away, and you pushed away a lot all the time, becomes a building block of your psyche. You hold on to it. Again, why would you want to hold on to that which you didn't like? Because you weren't able to handle it. So the only way you knew to protect yourself from having experienced it is to keep it at a distance, to push it away. So when you do that, it becomes stored inside of you. And you start picking these pieces up very quickly. All this stuff you stored in there, you start putting it together into, I like this, I'm the person who likes this, and the person who doesn't like this, and the person in love with this person, and the person who had this bad experience. And you start defining yourself, not as you, but as the experiences that you had. And that's what your ego is. It's what you, the lost self, used its will to put together this concept of itself, of a mask, a false self, And then you have to present it to the world. And what happens if the world doesn't like it? You freak out. When the world does like it, you get all excited. And so you're just sitting there presenting this thing all the time and trying to get what it wants, trying to repeat what made you feel good and stay away from what made you feel bad. And you have all these views and opinions and preferences and hopes and dreams and concepts. They're just all a collection of thoughts that got built based on your past experiences. Psychology says man is a sum of learned experiences. It's not true. You are the self, the consciousness that's experienced the experience, but you're keeping them. And therefore, your psyche, which is what they're studying, their psyche, your mind and emotions, that part of your being, is the sum of your learned experiences. Fine. So what does it mean now that I have this thing? What is my life like? Hell? You suffer. How do I know you're suffering? Because you're doing every single thing you can every minute of your life to not suffer. You're trying to find someone that will help you not suffer. You're trying to have finances so you can do things you want to do so you don't suffer. Every single thing you do is stay away from suffering. Stay away from not feeling good. Stay away from jealousy. Stay away from fear. Stay away from all this stuff. Why? Because they don't feel good. They're suffering. And so you're busy all the time. Doing what? Staying away from what's not nice inside. And so you get lost in the outside world. So now the self has fallen down into the psyche, and the psyche goes out into the world to try and get things the way it needs so that it's not suffering too much, and maybe sometimes is happy. All right, feels a little bit better. Either feels better or feels worse. But you have to work at that. It doesn't just happen by itself. And you're taught to work at that. That is the state of a human being. Wasn't that complicated? It would take 5 minutes. That's your state. You know that. That is your state. Okay? Well, what does it mean that there's a path? There's a path toward liberation. There's a path in which you in there are not so scared, are not so addicted to staring at your psyche, your ego, and then giving in and doing everything you can to let it run your life. You can free yourself from that. Freedom is not freedom for yourself, it's freedom from yourself, true freedom. So basically, your path through life, your entire path through life, is learning that you are not your ego, you are the self, and that you can live in this world without suffering. You can live in this world at peace. You can live in this world in harmony. You live in this world and bring beauty and light and love and compassion, no matter what's happening, no matter what's happening, no matter what is happening. You're capable of achieving that state where that is a state of your being. But it's not the one you're living in, not the one humans live in. Humans live in their egos. They live in their psyche. And that thing gets, we talked about that the other day, that thing is so sensitive. Somebody say one word it doesn't like, it freaks out. Somebody says one word it does like, freaks out the other way. And so you're trying to do everything you can, just struggling to make life be something that you can tolerate. In the end, life is what it is, and you're at peace. You're whole, you're complete. Nothing can touch you. You still interact with the world, but you're transcendent. You're whole. You're of God. That is your natural state. That distance between those two things, your humanness and your divinity, are the spiritual path. And everybody's on that path. A murderer? Yes, a murderer's on that path. People in jail, people that do terrible things, but they're all, every one of them is capable of liberation. If you have taken human birth, it means you are what I described. You are the light, the consciousness of God, dropped down, lost within your psyche, lost within your ego, lost within the lower part of your being, which is made up of this garbage that you created inside. And then, you, like I said, you go outside to try and feel better. Everybody's out there trying to feel better. Why are there wars? Because somebody's trying to defend themselves so they feel better, or somebody's trying to get something so they feel better. And that's why there are relationship problems. That's why there are nation problems. That's why every single thing is that. So as you go through your life that way, you're going to suffer. You're going to have highs and lows. It's like sandpaper. Remember, I would call it sandpaper. Back and forth, trying to sand off this psyche, sand off this garbage that you've gotten caught in. And so life will bring you things and you feel good about them and you get all excited, and then they disappoint you and you get all depressed and you go up and down and things happen. Maybe you've noticed. Has anybody noticed? Okay. And what you tend to do, if you're human, and you are, is you try to control the world so it doesn't happen. And nobody has ever succeeded. There's no possible way. You can't control the world. The world is the result of everything that ever happened before, creates the moment that's in front of you. I've lectured that so often, I can't even talk about it. I hope you get it. The moment in front of you is not yours. It has nothing to do with you. It is the result of all the forces that made it be the way it is. It is the result of all the forces. The weather is the way it is, not because it's your birthday, or not because, oh, God, thank you, it didn't rain on my wedding. No, it has nothing to do with your wedding. It has nothing to do with your birthday. Stop it. It has to do with, the El Nino and La Nina and the winds going across the Pyrenees Mountains. The point is, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with nature. It has to do with reality. It has to do with the laws of cause and effect. Things are the way they are because of everything that made them be that way. Did you have some influence? Of course you did. How much? 0.000000001. That's how much influence you had on the weather. Okay? I said something, and now he's leaving me. Why did I have to say that? He's not leaving you because you said this one thing. He's leaving you because his mother beat him. He's leaving you because his father left his mother. He's leaving you because his first girlfriend dumped him. There's an entire psyche sitting inside that guy. You don't have anything to do with it, by the way. Right? Everybody is the sum of their learned experiences. How much influence were you on the sum of that person's learned experiences? You met them 3 months ago. They're 30 years old. They've had experiences every single moment of those 30 years, have they not? And you're taking responsibility or credit for what happened in front of you. Go study science, study biology, study psychology, study anything, everything. And you're going to find out, I ain't the one who did it. The planet's been here for 4.5 billion years, having influences on everything. How long you been here? Well, you're going to wake up someday and realize you're out there trying to manipulate the universe of cause and effect. You're not going to do it. No one's ever done it. It can't possibly happen. You can have some influence, but then what did John Lennon say? Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Things unfold because of the laws that happened for billions of years. Oh my God. And so there's a moment in front of you, but we can't handle it. Life is about teaching you to wake up and realize there are ways you can handle it. There are ways you can respect it. There are ways you can honor it. There are ways you can serve it. There are ways you can raise it. But there are ways that you can decide in your mind, based on your experiences, how everything's supposed to be from now on everywhere. And guess what? No one agrees with you. No one agrees with you. They can't possibly. They didn't have the same experiences, did they? Every single moment of your life, you had an experience that no one else had. And then they're all linked together on a pearl necklace. And those are your views and your opinions and your preferences and your hopes and your dreams and your concepts. And you go out there and you dump them onto the world and try to fight with everything to try and make it be the way you want, because that's the only way it can be okay. Life is here to teach you that that is not truth, and you will never succeed in doing that. And someday you will wake up. Why? Because you suffer too much, or because something happened that raised you above it. Love can do that. That all of a sudden, I don't care what happens, I'm in love. I just feel love. I just feel peace. It's okay what happens. I'm okay with what happens. All right? Not my will, but thy will be done. And all of a sudden, you start to wake up in certain areas, right? But closed in other. You have a relationship, you're really happy at home, but boy, you fight at work. You're okay. Most people are not, but you're okay with a one-to-one relationship. You're not okay with money. You're not okay with this. You're not okay with all kinds. Life is here to teach you to be okay with absolutely everything that is. Why? Because reality is reality. And what you made up is meaningless. You just made it up based on your past experiences. Okay? Everybody's got one. But reality is reality. If there's a storm, there's a storm. If there's sun, there's sun. If a person's nice, they're nice. If a person's mean, they're mean. Now, what are you going to do about it? Eventually, you catch on what you're going to do about it as you evolve. That's what happens. Life causes you to evolve. I hope you're learning. What's it like if you're evolved? Events unfold in front of you, and you understand that's the nature of things. They're very Buddhist. That's the nature of things. This is the result of all the forces. That's how you should look at things. The moment in front of me is not mine. It is the result of all the forces from the beginning of creation that caused it to coalesce into this moment. If anything was different, it'd be different. I told you, if your car is made in Japan And the Japanese person that's put in the brakes and had a fight with his wife. And because he had to fight with the wife, he didn't torque the bolt tight enough on the brakes, but it took 4 years for it to get loose. And you're driving down the street and you step on your brake and you veer off to the right and you get in an accident. That's not an accident. It's a result of what he did, what the wife did. Every single thing is so complicated, you don't want to talk about it. That's how many causes and effects there are. Every single thing that ever was causes the next thing. Then they all coalesce together to create the moment in front of you. And eventually you wake up and you sit there and say, oh, that's what happened. And you're okay. You're at peace. You're in serenity. You feel understanding. Okay, this is the nature of things. Now what? It doesn't mean you don't deal with it. It does not mean you don't deal with it. It means you deal with it out of compassion, out of understanding. What can I do to help this moment? Not how mad can I get because it wasn't fair. I didn't deserve it. It had nothing to do with fair. It has nothing to do with justice. Just allow life to be life. The result of all the forces that ever were coalesce together to come in front of you. And don't worry, it won't stay. Nothing stays. It all just comes and goes. But not in you, it doesn't. Because if you didn't like it, you keep it inside of you. You can't keep it outside. It just comes and goes. But you keep it inside and you make a mess of yourself. But then you go blame everything. I don't need to tell you what it's like to live in there. So life is about evolving. Earth is a place where souls are sent to evolve. And that's what's happening to everybody. But what about people who are not evolving? They are so. They're having experiences and it's just having an effect on them. And it may be over time. Like somebody's an alcoholic. They drink a lot and so their family leaves them. This happens. They end up in AA and all of a sudden something happens, a little bit, something happens and they have a sponsor and this happens and they at least try to get themselves together. It happened because life put them through that. It did not leave them alone. I did 30 years of prison work, maximum security prison. They're people just like you and me. They just did things. They lost themselves. They acted based on some very low energy within themselves. And many of them talked to me and said, the best thing that ever happened to me was being in here. My life was on a total collision course. There's no way I'd be alive, right? I didn't understand anything. This caused me to stop for a moment. Not everybody's that way, but it caused me to stop. And look and learn. And there's people in here that help me. It's amazing. There's a subculture inside of max security prison. And it's not all fighting. There are things that get pulled together. And so you're here to evolve. They're here to evolve. Everyone's here to evolve. What does it take? I have nothing to say. Right? It takes everything there is. How's that? It takes from the lowest thing that could possibly be to the highest thing that could possibly be and every single thing in between. That's the yin and the yang. So you're here to evolve. How do you do that? You can either just let it happen and then you get knocked to pieces and chips off pieces. And maybe you wake up, maybe this, maybe that. Maybe you had a relationship and it didn't work out well because you were doing this or somebody's doing that. And then so it got ugly. And then maybe next time you learn something. Understand? It's like going to school. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Okay? You can go to school and take a test and get a D and get all upset and yell at the teacher and never go back again. You can do that. You can learn much. Or you can sit there and realize, oh my God, I'm not going to pass. I better get this together. And all of a sudden you're studying a little bit more. Anything can happen. That's what life is. That's what your life is. That's what it's always been. That's what it is. All your past that you don't like, all your past that you do like. It's not about avoiding what you didn't like. It's not about getting what you do like. It's about, did you learn? It's like when you're playing a sport. Look at the Olympics. We just had the Olympics. Do they study? Do they study very much? Do they try very hard? 4 years, totally devoting themselves every second to their sport. They're sitting there making something great of themselves. Are you doing that? Are you looking at your past and make those terrible things that ever happened in your past that you can't even think about them? You suppress them so deep, they freak you out. Did you learn? Because if all you did was hate them and push them away and never talk to somebody again, and how could somebody do that to me? And all you did was need to learn more. That's all I can say. You're like that kid that got the D and ran away and never went back to school. As opposed to you're able to look back at your life, every bit of it, and you're all different. You all went through what you need to go through. And if I say that, you get offended. You all go through what you needed to go through. Why? Because if you didn't need to go through it, you wouldn't have gone through it. You wouldn't even knew you went through it. If somebody else went through it, they didn't even notice it. You went through it because you had this garbage from your upbringing or something like that, and it freaked you out completely. Everybody handles things different because of what they built inside themselves. And so you eventually get to the point where you look back at your past and you know what you say? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the third grade teacher that failed me at math, because now I have a master's degree in mathematics. It inspired me. Very, very good. Thank you for the coach who yelled and screamed at me every time I hit into the net when I was trying to learn, not that way, turn your hand this way, or football, any sport you're trying to learn, coaches yell at you, right? To try to wake you up, to encourage you, not yelling at you. They're encouraging you to do better, to bring the best you have. And if you run away, you lost, because that which you're already good at, you already know. I read that once somewhere, right? The spiritual path is not about the things you're good at. It's about the things you aren't good at. You're already good at the things you're good at. And you want to sit there, here, go learn tennis and really suck at your backhand and get a coach who only hits forehand. You love him. It's great. I'm doing so well. No, you're not. So you wake up and you realize, I am here to be challenged. I am here to be pulled through the mud. I am here to let go of anything I stored inside myself that couldn't handle whatever happened to me. I'm here to grow, to learn every moment, every second of my life. It's not about getting what you want. It's about finding out why you don't like the rest. You're on a planet. It's an unbelievable. Is it not an unbelievable planet? Come on. Go to Mars, then come back after a little while and tell me how much unbelievable Earth is. Oh, don't bother with Mars. Go to any single place in the entire universe. The James Webb Telescope and the Hubble, they really see pretty far. What have you seen? Is they found an amoeba. It'd been on the front page of the entire newspapers all over the world. They never found anything, any sign, not even a sign of life. They make a big thing, oh, maybe these chemicals might someday make life on that planet. We ain't seen any. And you got any life around you now? There's grass, there's trees, there's animals of every sort, and you live on the planet. It's pretty unbelievable. And there's whales and dolphins and snakes and things and people. There's people and there's things to do. You can go play with a computer. You can listen to music. Will you wake up? There's nothing anywhere else that we found. And all you do is complain. If it's not exactly the way you want it to be, you complain. How did you decide what you wanted it to be? I made it up. You made up how you want it to be, and now you've ruined your life. All right? And the purpose of life is saying, hey guys, I'm bigger than you are. I'm life. I'm all of creation. I came from the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, and every single thing that got created happened since then, and you guys showed up and made a mess. So life is teaching you. That's God. It's teaching you. Earth is a place where souls are sent to evolve, but we don't get it. We're still out there trying to say there are things that I like and things that I don't like. And now I want to make life be the way I like, and I want to make sure it's not the way I don't like. And I'm going to struggle, and I'm going to lie, and I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to steal, and I'm going to do every single thing I possibly can to manipulate everybody and everything so it's the way I want it to be. In other words, I don't want to grow. Do you understand? If every single thing was exactly the way you want it to be, you're stagnant. If every single thing, every minute is exactly the way you want it to be, it means that the stage, all right, I'm going to take you back to when you were 12. How'd you want it to be? I don't know. I like this, and I like Barbie, and I like this, and I play with my dolls, and I did this, and I did the thing, and I'm talking, right? Okay, we'll make it all be like that for the rest of your life. Because you ain't going to change. If it is the way you want it to be, you just keep it that way. It's wonderful. I'm happy. It is the challenges in life that challenge you to look at yourself and say, why don't I like things? Why don't I appreciate things? Why aren't I happy? You ask yourself, why aren't I happy? But your answer is because I need to find somebody, because I need more money, I need to travel. That's not why you're not happy. The reason you want to do those things is you're not happy. It's not why you're not happy. I tell you the example I always give you. Go eat some food and get really, really, really sick. And then somebody comes around, a friend comes in. What are you doing? You're running like a maniac. I can't find the Pepto-Bismol. That's my problem. My problem is I can't find the Pepto-Bismol. No, your problem is you ate something that made you sick. The Pepto-Bismol, it does not fix that. It hides it. That's all everybody's doing. is trying to hide the inner problems they have of why they're not okay. I'm lonely. Need to find somebody. Pepto-Bismol. I don't feel respected. I need to have a Ferrari or nowadays Tesla or something, right? Pepto-Bismol. It's a placebo. It's just something to placate the fact that you're not okay. A spiritual person asks not what can I do to make believe I am okay or to feel better. Why am I not okay? And you start to look, the life will hit you over the head enough till you start to catch on. You guys are here. You start to catch on. I'm not okay for one stupid reason. Because I made up how everything's supposed to be. And I'm not okay because it's not that way. I made up. Don't you tell me I'm right. Everybody thinks they're right. But I have evidence. Look at all the facts. What happened to me? Yes, what happened to you? Totally different things happen to everybody else. Take a major event in your life that helped mold your psyche. What if it didn't happen? Would you be different? Would you think different? Of course you would. Therefore, you just made up. While you were having that one experience, how many experiences were you missing? Every single place on the planet, the whole universe, there's something happening. All of time, space, Einstein, time-space continuum. There is something always was happening. So you had one moment. It was a moment in the time-space continuum. I got in a car accident. Now I don't drive, and I don't like anybody who does, and I know it's fair. Okay, great. You let one moment define your life. Do you hear me? And boy, probably in a car accident. Probably was your 12th grade girlfriend or something. High school's really good at screwing you up because that's you forming yourself, right? You form your self-concept. And then you go through life thinking it's supposed to be the way you want. That's why you're not okay. I don't need a big lecture. You are not okay because you decided how everything needs to be. And now you think if it be that way, I'll be okay. And if it's not that way, I'm terrible. And you're not looking inside. You're not looking inside saying, I did this. I set this game up. I'm the person who ruined my life. Life didn't ruin my life. Life just went about its business. I'm the one who decided it shouldn't. It should not have rained yesterday. I was going hiking with somebody I really like a lot, and I finally got a date with them, and then it rained. It should not have happened. Go check out meteorology. It had to happen yesterday. But not for you. No, you made up this thing inside your head, and that's why you suffer. So life is a place where souls ascend to evolve. That's what we're talking about, evolving. You eventually evolve, and you say, what am I doing getting mad at God because it rained? So what life is here to teach you is you shouldn't ruin your life over any event. Every event in life is an event you experience in life. If you're evolved enough, you can handle things. You can handle things. I told you that. I love the quote from the Gita. It was very deep. And so it's Godhead Krishna, and he's talking to his disciple, Arjuna, and he tells him about these very high beings. There can be enlightened beings in this world, not just humans, it's much higher. And Arjuna asks him, how would I know such a person? Sits he, walks he, talks he like any other man? And Krishna says to him, oh yes, he sits, he talks, he walks like any other man. If you would know him like this. In joys he's not overjoyed, in sorrows not over sorrows. He lets goodness come when it will, and when it will depart, and lets darkness come when it will, and when it will depart. He sits as a sojourner, a stranger in the midst of the qualities of natures. He said, just as all the waters and streams of the world pour into the oceans, and the ocean does not overstep its bounds, so the world of sense pours into the yogi and leaves him as it found him, serene, content. Equanimity is yoga. Isn't that beautiful? You are capable of that, just not right now. You need to, that's a very evolved soul that's able to handle what Christ handled. He sat there in the garden, he saw what was going to happen to him. And he said, may I pass this cup? The minute he said that, he said, no, not my will, but thy will. And he just let it unfold. He was able to. You're capable of that state, but you have to understand what it means to assist evolution instead of fighting evolution. So our normal state is to say, if things are not the way I want, they're wrong. They're wrong. You should not have said that. Why? It hurt me. Sounds logical, doesn't it? It's not. You said it because your father died yesterday and you're upset and you didn't sleep at all. And so you said something stupid. Now I hate you. I'll fight with you. How dare you say that to me? Well, you didn't understand why it came out. You don't even care. You only care what effect it had on you, don't you? You shouldn't have said that. It hurt me. Evolution says It's not about me. It's about reality, and it's about my ability to handle reality. All the experiences of life come in, and they pass through, and they leave me at peace. Then I can deal with them from a higher place. That's an evolved being. All right, fine. How do I help this evolution? Participate in the process of evolution as opposed to fighting it because you don't want to evolve. I want it to be the way I am. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Just be nice to me. And don't ever criticize me. And don't say anything that bothers me. All right? And so that's not a very evolutionary thing to do. So what do? You take a breath and you listen and you catch on. Do you want to stay? Which one of you? All right, God's going to come down here. Any one of you. I can touch you, God says, and make you stay exactly where you are right now. How would you like that? I don't think one of you would say yes. No, I don't think so. It's not so nice in here. And I'm struggling. I'm constantly protecting myself and defending myself and doing every single thing I possibly can to make it not worse. I don't want to stay like this. Very good. And God says, fine, okay, then let's put you through some growth. There is no growth without change, is there? Think of a plant. Think of anything. There's no growth without change. So if you want to grow, you have to be willing to change. Life is challenging you. Will you change about this? What you do is you start to wake up. I told you wake up in the morning. If you meditate, whatever it is, I don't care, in your business. But at least sit for a moment and remember why you're here. You're on a tiny little planet. I told you, I can't help myself. I'm addicted. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And the sun is one of 300 billion stars in one galaxy. And there are 2 trillion galaxies. What exactly is not okay with you? And you sit up in the morning and you say, okay, I'm on this tiny little planet in the middle of nowheres, and I'm going to do a 360. That's what I told you. Somebody asked you, what'd you do today? A 360. And so you wake up in the morning and you realize that's what's going to happen to you today. You spend a day on the planet Earth, aren't you? Can you handle it? Of course not. I mean, yes. And you say to yourself, I'm going to go through this day and I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to be on the nicest planet that anybody ever found anywhere. I told you, planet Earth is God's idea of Disney World. There's something going on everywhere. It's an exciting place, a happening place. So you wake up in the morning, you sit down, and you take a breath, and you say, look, I woke up on the planet Earth. I'm going to spin around its axis once today, and that's going to be far out. And I'm going to have experiences. Which ones? How do I know? Whichever ones there are there. Which ones come in front of me? But what if you don't want that one? Too bad. It's the one that happened. And you literally sit there and say, I'm going to learn to have a good old time sitting on the planet, spinning in the middle of nowheres, and that's that. Then you go through your day and you remember. You set up little benchmarks. I used to do that. Oh my God. I don't have to do it anymore. But in my early days, when I first moved out here, if I got into my car, I didn't start my car till I stopped and remembered I was sitting on planet Earth, spinning in the middle of nowheres, and about to scoot around the planet in my little car. All right? I'd take a few breaths, then I'd start the car. Before I got out of the car, I'm serious. Every single time, I'd do the same thing. Then I get out. It's okay, I got that down. Now what am I going to do? I noticed that the mind would start and not like things right away. So I need more benchmarks, consciousness points. And so I decided, okay, I noticed that I walk through doors periodically. Have you noticed? You go through doors a lot. Okay, before I walk through the door, nobody will notice. Just take a second. I'll do a mantra. Or I'll think, I'm walking through a door on the planet Earth. That's pretty funny. There are doors on the planet Earth. Every single door, front door, bathroom door, this door, office door, whatever. Just stop for a second, take a breath, and go through the door. Well, that's far out. Okay, so I'm doing that. It's working out. Then they gives me this big business to run. I got all these phone calls. And so I started, okay, here we go. Every time every time before I pick up the phone. We're going to do that. So it takes an extra ring, just one extra ring. I'm going to remember I'm sitting on a planet in the middle of nowhere, and there's a telephone ringing. And someone's going to talk to me. Where? That's weird. It doesn't happen on Mars or Saturn or anywhere, right? Wow, man. And so I pick up the phone, have the phone call, hang it up. The moment I hung up, before I did anything else, remember, that's what happened. I was on planet Earth. I talked to somebody somewhere, and that's all that happened, all right? And I just kept setting these benchmarks, conscious moments, all right? Guess what happened? Eventually, this one touched that one, then it touched this one, then it touched that one, and then you're there all the time. You have to do anything. You're conscious. You're present. You're always present, okay? You do what you need to do, but that's called helping evolution, all right? So now that you're conscious and you're not reacting to what happens because you don't like it or you do like it, like and dislike are the same exact thing. Do you not get weird if something happens that you really, really like? Do you not get weird if something happens that you really, really don't like? You just get weird inside. Right? It gets weird in there. Energies change and shift around, right? Okay. So if you're conscious, you're the witness. You watch this. You notice that you have this ego, that you have this thing that you're carrying. So it seems like I used to think of carrying him around. Why do I have to carry this guy around under me? Once I got conscious enough, he just was always talking. He was always complaining. He always had something to say about everything. And it took a long time for me to figure out. I used to beat him up. No, you don't beat him up. That doesn't help one single iota. But you learn to raise it. You learn to work with yourself. But the point is, now you're helping evolution. Let's say you go home to visit your parents. That's always fun. If you're young enough, you go home and visit your parents. Usually it brings up all kinds of stuff. I mean, especially when you're in college, you go home and visit your parents. Everything they ever said to you or your room reminds you of this and that. But you're conscious now. You worked with it. You notice that your ego is getting all weird. It doesn't want to do it and be defensive. It could actually start acting like when you were young. It'd start putting the same stuff back. People tell me all the time. I was like, I'm going to go visit my parents. I'm 18 years old. Everything was, I might have been 15 or 14. There's so much resistance. I didn't like this. Same person came up. Be conscious. Be conscious. This is the time to grow. That's a wonderful time to grow, to be put into an environment where a past part of yourself starts expressing itself and coming up. But you're conscious now. That's the witness. You see it happening. So what do? You don't give into it. You don't have to throw it away or anything. You just stay centered, calm, and you let it go. That's what I found. You just let it go. What do you mean? You're welcome to say in there what you want to say, but I ain't saying out here what you're saying in there. There's no way I'm dumping you out there and polluting my environment. So if you need to be saying it in there, I can handle it. I've evolved enough to where I can handle the garbage that's stored inside of there. So let's say you go to sleep and you have a dream, and you wake up and you feel all weirded out. It was a bad dream. You're all weirded out. What should I do? Let it go. What do you mean? It was a dream. You want to analyze it and get into where it came from, or you want to sit there and say, wherever it came from, I must have stored some garbage down there. Okay? I stored garbage down there in the subconscious. It expressed itself. What should I do about it? Handle the fact that it expressed itself, and you'll be able to handle when it comes up during your day. If you can't even handle the dream, you're not going to be handle what it felt like down there if it comes back up. Just keep saying, I can handle this. I can handle this. I'm an evolved being. I can handle this. And then some things will happen to you that you say, I can handle this, and you lie to yourself. You didn't handle it very well at all. You can remember that back in the early days, I had maybe some conflict with somebody, and I don't like it. They didn't like it either, right? But we'd get into some argument or something. And I'd sit there and say, okay, I know I have a tendency with this person about that subject, so I'm going to get centered, clear. I ain't bringing up that subject. We'll talk about something else. I just want to see that I can do that. Walk in, within 15 seconds, the subject comes out of my mouth. It's a sport, all right? I fell off the bounce beam, okay? What do you do when you fall off the bounce beam? You get back on. You get back on, you try again. It's a game. It's a sport. It's called the sport of evolution. It's the highest sport there is, all right? And you're going to play it whether you like it or not, okay? And guess who your coach is? God, right? And so you basically realize I'm here to work on myself. I'm not here to get you all to be the way I want you to be so I don't have to work on myself. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go to the Olympics, And if I don't get a 10 diving, I'm going to change the rule book to wherever you said I did, my legs were spread a little bit, they didn't go right. That's the highest way to dive. Those are a 10. From now on, that's a 10. Pretty stupid, isn't it? That's what you're doing. You're sitting there saying it's supposed to be the way I want. If it bothered me, it's wrong. And so you start working on raising yourself. And you do this, and it's so much fun eventually. At first, it's not fun at all because the ego is going to fight back. It's like you got a spoiled child. They throw tantrums all the time, and you spoil them by whenever they throw a tantrum, you give them exactly what color, which one do you want? Oh my God, I don't want to meet that kid. That's what you did to yourself. You said to the ego, the lowest part of your being, what do you want? What do you hope he said? How do I get him to say it? How can I make things be the way you want? You give into that every single thing she says. Do you understand that? It's completely pampered that thing to death, to where now it's spoiled to death. It honestly believes you laugh all you want. You honestly believe things should be the way you want. You know how I know? Because if they're not, you say they're wrong. And so you just decide, no, I'm going to evolve. I'm going to grow. I'm going to use every moment of my life to the best of my ability. You won't do it perfectly in no way, shape, or form. Just because you get a coach, you don't play tennis perfect. You don't play piano perfect. But you work at it. You work at evolving. That's what you're doing. You're helping the process of evolving. And eventually you're going to come to me and say, it's pretty amazing. It's as though exactly what I needed happened to me. Exactly, this book came right when I needed it. And this came a thing. And then I was going through this challenge, and all of a sudden this happened. It's like you start noticing life was always working with you, but you were working against it. You thought it was bad, it was wrong, and it's not giving me what I want. But once you catch on that freedom is about freedom, not for yourself, but from yourself, you start seeing that life's on your side. Life's literally helping you so that if you need backhand, all of a sudden, God sends a coach who's a backhand specialist, right? You start saying, wow, exactly what I needed showed up. When you start working with the evolution, you start realizing, okay, what is this about? It's about me learning to handle reality. That's what it's about. Me learning to handle reality. Why? Because reality always wins. Why? Because it's reality. In Living Untethered, I had to define reality because I'm giving a discussion, right? Well, people write books on reality. One line. Reality is that which already happened. If it happened, it's reality. Nobody has ever undid what already happened. But what if you make him apologize? It still happened. It still happened. There ain't no way you're making it not happen, right or wrong. So you make that the purpose of your life. I'm going to assist evolution. I'm going to accept what takes place. Doesn't mean you don't deal with it. Acceptance does not mean you're just a doormat and everybody's running over you. Acceptance means you can handle what happened. Now, what can you do to help? Not help you because you couldn't handle it. God, if you get that, you got everything I ever wanted to teach you. If you're out there working with it to try to make you feel better because you couldn't handle it, that's terrible. You're just basically saying, I don't want to evolve, and you guys are going to pay a price, okay? As opposed to, I'm going to learn to handle it. Now what? Is there something I am supposed to be doing or can be doing to raise the event outside that took place? Not because I can't handle it, but because I got put in this position and maybe I can help. You become a servant of reality. When you can accept reality, you become a servant. You know, when it's raining out, there are some things you can do that are good to do in the rain, as opposed to complaining or wishing you could be doing something else. I always talked about, there's a bumper sticker out there. I'm sure you've seen it. I'd rather be sailing. I'd rather be fishing. I once said the bumper sticker I was talking about, and they actually made it. They used to sell it at the book table. I'd rather be doing what I'm doing. Because then you're a happy person. You're doing great. So you start working with evolution. And you're going to find out so much. You will learn so much. Right? You will never question the presence of an intelligent force running the universe. Call it whatever you want, because you will start seeing it's working with you. It's working with you. I told you. It's like, let's take a giant marble slab, beautiful marble, but it's just a square marble slab, and that's you to start with, all right? And then all of a sudden, something hits you, it chips off a piece. Oh my God, it hurt. What's going on? Why is he chipping at me? Right? Another chip. Oh, stop it. And then you start seeing Michelangelo's David coming out of your marble. Oh my God, what's that arm? It's gorgeous. That's what's happening. Do you understand that? Now either you're assisting or you're resisting. And that's life. And so you learn how to do it. How? Remember, always remember this talk. This is the purpose. You took birth on earth to evolve. That's the purpose of it. Are you fighting it or learning from it, assisting it, working with it? Every minute, every second. There's not one part of your life that's spiritual, another part that's not. That's ridiculous. Every second of your life is your spiritual journey. And the more you work with it, the more you grow, the more you change. And eventually you get to the point where it's like, bring it on. Bring it on. I want to grow. Okay, so we've talked about evolution. Now to understand what happens when you evolve enough, everything changes. All of a sudden, there is no sense of resistance inside of you. You appreciate the path, you love the path, you welcome the path, and therefore there's no resistance. And all of a sudden you feel love and you feel appreciation. And then all this energy inside of you starts going up. It doesn't go down anymore. It just rushes up, feeding you all the time. You feel love, joy, inspiration, power, all coming up inside of you. And you learn to work with that, because then that's the next stage of your evolution. Now it's spiritual evolution instead of human evolution. All right? Eventually, the great ones went so high that their consciousness, instead of having to deal with this thing down there it's looking at, let go and merged with the source of consciousness, which is what the word God means, the oneness of the whole universe and pure ecstasy and nirvana and all the nice things that they all talk to you about. All right? Evolve. Jagged.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.